Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Endless. During the last part, I made it up to 140-ish screens on Classic Mode, so now in this part I'll be showing off Time Mode. I would be showing off a part where I got over 200 screens in Classic Mode, but I decided to make an executive decision to just skip past it and go to Time Mode. The reason being is because, after practicing for so long, well, I've decided I can't really consistently get over 100 screens and it's wasting quite a bit of time to get through. Sure, I do like the classic mode and most of the modes in this game, it's just that if I were to go over 200 screens and practice over and over, well, the next part will probably come in 1 or 2 weeks, mainly because of my bad luck in recent date. I did get a record of 157 screens, which I didn't show off. I may post the part where I did get 157 parts as filler, but otherwise, my current plan for the future of this Let's Play is as follows. I'll be showing off Time Mode in this part, Boss Mode in the next part, and the final mode, Perfect Mode, and also summarize my final opinions on the games and some thoughts and improvements, as well as comparisons to the other Mega Man fan game which was heavily fan-based, that being Megamo, or Make a Good Mega Man Level Contest. Okay, without further ado, let's do Time Mode. I'll be playing a few runs of this mode, probably going up to 20 or 25 minutes. So let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go. Time Mode is just like Classic Mode, but with one major exception. That being, if I can... Ow. The main difference with Time Mode is that you have the timer on the top of the screen, and you need to collect these T blocks, which give you 10 extra seconds of time once you collect them. That time will slowly be ticking down further and further, and your main objective is to get through these stages as quickly as possible, because once that timer hits 0, well, your health will drain very rapidly, and it's almost instant death. Unless you're right next to a time block, you're basically going to die. Whoa. That was a bit close. So you need to rush through these stages, defeating enemies as quickly as possible while collecting the time blocks. Because if you run out of time, well, it's almost instant death unless you're next to one of those time letters, or blocks. So it does change up the game quite a bit. It's actually a little bit of a minor change by adding all those extra blocks. Ow. But by doing so, it adds a lot of replayability to the game, because now a lot of these stages are a lot harder to go through. And it forces you to use special weapons more so you can survive more often. Because now with the limited time, you need to rush through these stages in order to complete them faster, but by doing so, you're very likely going to take more damage. And you're definitely going to be using more Robot Master weapons to speed through these stages. And it ends up with a vicious cycle of sorts, where because you have to complete these missions faster, you have to collect as many of these pickups as quickly as possible, and you'll take more damage in the process, have to use Robot Master weapons more often, etc, etc. So it's a vicious cycle, and you'll very likely die more often. It makes the entire experience of Mega Man Endless a lot more tense, and it adds quite a bit of replayability for those who are kind of bored with the classic mode if you memorize most of the levels by this point. As several stages that were originally not that difficult, if you waited it out, are now a lot more challenging because now you have to rush through them in order to survive. It's definitely a nice change of pace, though in certain stages it makes them a lot more difficult, disproportionately so, whilst other stages aren't exactly as changed. Stages that are really affected by this change are stages which have shielded enemies or enemies that are guarded. Enemies like the Batons or the Sniper Joes specifically. Those are the ones who are affected most by these changes. Because with the guarded enemies, well, you have to wait a while to hit them, or to be able to shoot through their shields, or when they raise their shields or guards. Or you can use Robot Master weapons, but then, well, you have a higher chance that you lose your special weapon energy in it. And I died there because I mistimed what he was going to do. Thankfully, in the newest version of this game, you have the ability to try again right from the screen instead of having to go back to the main screen. But as I was saying, stages which force you to face a lot of shielded enemies, they're the ones that are affected most by the time changes, because now you either need to take several hits or you need to use special weapons in order to get across faster. But stages like these, which have a lot of, how should I say it? But stages which have all these quick lasers, they're not as affected by this change as much, mainly because you have to go through these as quickly as possible in the first place. So not much difference. But that stage especially was affected quite a bit, mainly because we had that T block. Well, mainly at the end. Thankfully the timer pauses when you're in the menu, so that's nice. But the time mode in general it makes it so you have to balance another precious resource. In addition to your health and weapon energy resources, now you have the time. So it adds quite a bit of depth to stages, because now it forces you to balance out your stuff more carefully, and forces you to take more risks so you don't run out of time. That's not the right area, but... Like in these segments, you could go below, but if you don't want to risk losing time, you just take the upper route. But with that, you have to waste your charge kick energy. But in some ways, as long as you get the groove on for these levels, and you practice all 48 of these screens enough, it isn't that bad. But you need to get practice for these stages so you don't end up taking hits from everything. But as I keep saying, it adds quite a bit of replayability to these stages, which is nice. Always appreciated. And it really also forces you to learn more about the special weapons for each of Mega Man's arsenal. Because before you could get by just using the Mega Buster, but now you really need to learn how to optimally use your weapons in order to get through these stages as quickly as possible. Oh, I'm not going for there because of those spikes. I do like the changes at this stage. Now it's a lot. You won't instantly die at the beginning if you're not sure what's going on, which I always appreciate. That should have been in the stage originally, personally. I remember there was a similar gimmick back in Dr. Wily's final attack, but that one you didn't have instant death spikes right at the beginning. You had some time to get used to it. I wish this stage originally did a similar thing. And whenever you're in these boss stages, you'll usually get up to 2 or 4 time blocks depending on how difficult the boss is. Like for a quick man, because he takes a lot more damage from your attacks, you only get 2 T blocks, or 2 T letters. But in more difficult bosses like Sparkman, you'll get 4 T blocks. Like over here, you actually it's distributed, you get 2 before and 2 afterwards. Oh, I really don't like this screen. You have to be quick on the draw in order to get across. Even then, if you don't pay attention, you'll very likely take a hit. Really, this is one of those stages that's kind of impacted, especially by the changes in difficulty, or by adding time. Especially because of all these crazy cannons, or shotmans. Ow. I'll take a hit over there because of that health pickup over here. Luckily, I'm not getting any stages which have a lot of shielded enemies, so like the shield attackers, Sniper Joes, or Batons, so that's nice. If you do that, well, you'll have a much easier time. If you're lucky in terms of RNG that way, these stages will become a lot easier. Oh, missed it. Oh, whoops. I forgot to move. I thought there would be a time bomb over there. Well, sure, let's try again. This is just an illustration in mode, not me trying to go as far as possible. If I would probably have to be silent so the LPR's curse wouldn't affect me as much. I didn't mention it before, but I kind of find it odd that this stage actually uses the ending theme of Wily Wars. It seems fitting for one of the final stages for Endless, if there would be a final stage. Okay, back to this screen. Depending on how the level setups are, or depending on how the RNG works out for you, your experience with time mode will be easier or harder, or you'll have more or less fun. Similar to classic mode, but especially over here because of the addition of the third resource you have to manage, being time. In classic mode, sure, if you're having a tough time, you can eventually get used to the stages through practice, but especially here with the addition of time, certain stages are made a lot more difficult, and depending on if you get a lot of stages which force you to wait around more, your experience will be much more challenging and force you to get through these stages even faster. Whereas in classic mode, as long as you take it slowly, most stages can be done well enough. Although with some of the spike pits it can be a kind of a problem. Which leads to one of my major complaints about this game, being the overuse of instant death traps. Specifically spikes. I'll talk about this more in the final part, but specifically, I would have appreciated if this game actually had followed something similar to Rock Force. Oh. What I mean by Rock Force is that in the default settings of Rock Force, whoa. I'll say it after this segment. Ugh, I don't want to go through here without using the charge kick. And this is a nice one of those shortcut segments you can only use if you have the charge kick energy. Okay, we have this stage. As I was saying, I would appreciate it. This game would be a lot more, let's say, easier or more enjoyable for me to go through if the spikes by default did only 1/4 points of damage. Oh. But like Rock Force did by default. So maybe for a normal mode instead of the hard mode which this game has. Ouch. So on normal mode of this game, the spikes would deal only 1/4 or 1/2 worth of Mega Man's health bar of damage. So players can get more experience with the game itself and not have to go through the instant death haven that this game presents. Sure, there are issues with the abundance of instant death bottomless pits, but at least you have the boost jump to get out of most of them. Whereas for the spikes, you don't really have a chargeable spike boot ability. But as I was saying, for normal mode, having spikes not deal instant death damage, instead just dealing a large chunk of damage, I would say this game would make it a lot more successful. Oh sure, this game was marketed as being for Mega Man experts, but even then, this is very punishing, even more punishing than other Mega Man fan games. In fact, I would say it's one of the most difficult Mega Man fan games I've ever played to date. Well, there are probably Mega Man hacks which are more challenging, but in comparison to other Mega Man fan games, this is one of the most difficult. Yep, even compared to Eternal. Although I'd say this game has a little bit better level design, it's just that, well, each of the mini levels is mostly fine. It's just that with the configuration of having so many difficult levels together, it makes getting through this game a lot more frustrating. Okay, here's one of these rooms that isn't really affected by the addition of time mode, mainly because you have to go to this stage as quickly as possible in the first place, so time mode doesn't really change as much. I'm being a bit silent here because I really need to get through this segment as quickly as possible so I don't die. Okay, here we are. Oh, and here's the mosh pit level. Let's see if I can get through this a little bit more carefully and not die everywhere. There's a kind of an odd glitch with this level where you can actually get hit multiple times by the big eyes for some reason. I'm not sure what causes that. I presume something gets reset with the invulnerability times, because I have experienced that a few times during my failed runs. Goodbye, Mosh Pit. So we're off to the boss. By default, you'll usually get about 4 of these time blocks. Okay, hello Shadow Man. Let's try fighting you this time with the correct amount of health. There we go. But as I was saying, the levels themselves are mostly fine. It's just that because there's so many tough levels together in conjunction, this game gets very punishing and quite daunting for a lot of players. Even experienced Mega Man players like myself find myself kind of frustrated while playing this game in prolonged periods of time. So much so that after doing several runs, I'd rather just take a break and play something else. It doesn't become as fun as before. Oh sure, the Mega Man 9, 10 endless modes were hard as well in their own right, but those, even a Mega Man Unlimited endless mode, whoa. Ah, that was my fault. As I was saying, even the Mega Man Unlimited modes, you could get by most of them using your basic platforming skills. Sure, Unlimited was definitely more challenging and punishing compared to Mega Man 9 and 10, but you could get by with most of your platforming skills that were trained by the game itself. I'm submitting, but I probably won't show the scoreboard because I'm way off in the first place. Yeah, I'm in 26th place. There's no way I'm going to get up to about 220 screens like AWD42 did, who is one of the creators of these levels in this game, by the way. Okay, one more run through unless I die pretty fast. Oh, having the top enemies here is kind of a nuisance to go through. Oh, I really wish that I picked the right weapon there. Ah, I mistimed that. I mistimed that as well. Whoa, I thought I collided with that. Thank you for giving hitboxes. As I was saying, the levels are mostly fine by themselves, but unlike normal Mega Man stages, where several of these segments would be fitting, there isn't really breeding room or areas which are a lot simpler to go through and show progression. So for a lot of players I've noticed, or a notable number of players, it can be quite frustrating to get progress in this game because of the random nature and not going through the same stages over and over. Like in normal Mega Man stages, you can roughly control what stages you're going to next. But here you're randomly selected from 48. Well, you're randomly selected from 48, so you can end up going to a different stage and not go to the stage that killed you. Because in regular Mega Man games, you can relatively practice what killed you over and over until you get good enough to complete it. But here, it isn't really a luxury that players have. It is by design, sure, but it can make it a lot more frustrating to go through. Especially with the much higher level of difficulty compared to normal to the other Mega Man Endless mode. But those are my main scattered thoughts about Mega Man Endless in general. Yeah, I remember the stage. At least I realized that the Sniper Joe actually jumps twice, so I can actually just slide right under him. Ow. I also realized that the leaf shield is kind of temporary, so it can be so you have to be a bit careful with how much damage it takes before it dissipates. Oh boy, we're going to a boss fight. Unless it's Metal Man or Spark Man, we're going to have a serious problem. Oh, Top Man. Okay, he's weak against the charge kick, so that should be good. And we can... Oh yeah, and I mistimed. It's my apologies. Let's do one more run just to show off, see what's different. But my concluding thoughts about this time mode in general is that it adds a nice amount of replayability to the game itself. With the addition of the third precious resource being time, it really changes up how to go through several stages and makes most of the stages difficult, either about the same in difficulty or more challenging because of the addition of having to go through them as quickly as possible. It makes the resource management a lot more challenging because now I have to decide what resources to sacrifice and what to go for. Like, do you sacrifice weapon energy, do you sacrifice your health, or do you sacrifice time? Remember, if you run out of time, you're quickly going to die. And if you don't have weapon energy, well, a lot of these segments are going to be a lot more challenging, especially like the boss fights. And certain levels, like the ones that have guarded enemies, yeah, like the Sniper Joes, like one of these stages, losing time is going to be a serious problem. But this mode really puts you in the mindset of a speedrunner, which is nice. Let's see here. Sadly, I can't really go through it until I kill that one, because he's completely blocking that area. Okay, this stage again. Oh, whoa. Oh. Oh, that's... I'm acting very clumsily here. But I do appreciate the addition of this mode for adding more replayability, especially for those players who've gotten used to going through all 48 of these mini-levels. It's not one of my favorite modes. My favorite mode is a tie between classic mode and boss mode, but hey, I do appreciate the addition. It certainly isn't my least favorite mode, which that being perfect mode, but that's due to my personal preferences rather than the validity of the mode itself, or structure of the mode itself. But I do like it. Well, in a future part I'll talk more about what my opinions of how this game should be improved, but those will be in the final part, during perfect mode. Oh hey, I made it to the boss. Hello, quick man. What's your weakness? No. Oh yeah, leaf shield, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Because Sparkman is resistant. It completely destroys Electman, but Electman's a lot more dangerous compared to Sparkman because his Elect Beams do a huge amount of damage. Fitting, because his Mega Man 1 incarnation had the same amount of damage potential, or damage amount. But that's all I would have to say about time mode. Now I just need to survive long enough to get by. Oh sure, the beating segments are relatively fine. It's just when you get to the... It's just when you get to the upper levels, especially where 100 screens, where things get a lot more frantic because your nerves get frayed from having to balance all your tree resources. Oh, this is one of these stages where I really don't like to speedrun because of the precision required. I'll just use a charge shape because I don't want to risk falling into the pit. Okay, I can make it across using that. Nice to know. Oh, this stage. This is one of those other stages I don't exactly like to go to speedruns, so I'll just use the centaur flash 2 times. Nice area to put the time block as well. Ow, my jump button failed to work this time. Oh, a health pickup, that's really appreciated. Thank you, game. And those slides can be kind of risky if your controller like mine will decide to fail. If your controller like mine decides to fail sometime. Oh, okay, the game's designed to act very generous for once. Yeah, this is the stage with... Oh, yeah, I remember this. This is the stage with that troll Yoku block. It's really the last segment which trips up a notable number of players I've noticed. Mainly due to the precise jumping and because the wall being so close. That's what trips up most players I've noticed. This segment specifically because you have to be quite precise while making these jumps so you can get it by. Oh, and you can actually jump right out of the slide, just at that pixel perfect so you can collect that time block. I didn't realize this until now. I don't want to deal with these puka pellies, so I'll just use the centaur flash. I would dread going to this room on perfect mode because you only have the Mega Buster. I don't know how you're supposed to deal with all those puka pellies. Kinda getting close over there. Okay, I made it to my second boss fight. That's actually quite impressive. Okay, it's Bubble Man then. I played this game enough to recognize what each of the room introductions are, because each of the Roadmaster or boss fights will have a unique room introduction. So you can preemptively choose which weakness or who you need to prepare for. Well, this is a new record for how long I went through, or how far I got through. Okay, we're back here. That's not what I meant to do, but okay. If there's another one thing I would like to add to this game, it would be 2 more special weapons to match the number of special weapons you have in Mega Man 2 and 3. Sure, this is balanced, but I would like some extra backups just in case I've run out of one. It does add to the challenge level, sure, but it also makes everything feel a lot more frantic. Oh well, maybe in Mega Man Endless 2 or another Mega Man collaboration. Of course the Croakers are resistant to the magnet missile. Of course they would be. Still can't jump over them. I know it's possible, I've seen it done before. You just need to be a little bit precise and you'll be able to jump over their tip. The tip of their head. Well, it's interesting though with practice how my opinion of stages has been changing. Before I found a stage to be really frustrating the first time I went through it, but with practice of actually getting through these magnets and holding the left or right arrow keys, it's gotten a lot easier. It isn't one of my favorite stages, but it's a lot more bearable. Just to be careful while jumping over there so you don't embed yourself on the spikes. Okay, this is the stage where it's actually counterintuitive, but you shouldn't actually shoot the missiles. You should just try avoiding them as quickly as much as possible. It makes the stage a lot easier, personally. Oh, and by the way, you can easily get crushed. You can actually get crushed by these up and down platforms if you get hit by between the spikes and the up and down platform. Note that this will actually still apply if you're in invulnerability time. So if you're stuck on the platform, even while in invulnerability phase, and you hit the spikes, well, you'll die. That's how it was back in Mega Man 3, I believe. Well, I almost made it through that segment with no damage. I didn't jump from the correct side. That's why I always use boost jump over here. Well, this is certainly a new record. Unlike the previous one, I will be showing off what score I got here, mainly because I actually went up to 9th place. And it's actually quite a record because I didn't expect to survive for almost 10 minutes on this run. Well then, these were my thoughts on time mode. During the next part, I'll be showing off boss mode. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Toodles!